Now, knockabout here, this is one of the most unusual poster designs. I'm not quite sure where that image... Well, the image came from actually a kind of a bit of footage shot against a blue background to kind of introduce Sammo Hung's character and Yuen Biu's character. And it's not actually footage from the film. And in that promotional film, there's a sequence when the pet monkey of Sammo Hung pulls off the belt of Yuen Biu's character and his pants fall down, and there's a freeze frame at the end, and there's actually a still of that freeze frame. And that's obviously one of the stills that they gave to the poster designer, who had not probably seen the movie, so they used that as the basis for the design for this particular poster. And yeah, I mean, it's certainly a different approach to doing a kung fu comedy. At the bottom, you've got all these wonderful characters. There's Sammo Hung in the middle as the beggar detective. I think they could have done another movie with him as the beggar detective. I thought it was a really smart idea. But again, this feeling that you're watching, you're going to go into the theatre and you're going to see human beings moving like cartoon characters. So the poster itself is not representing human beings so much as saying, check it out, folks. It's like a live-action cartoon. Step on in, and with air conditioning. And this is Fearless Hyena, which was Jackie's directorial debut. He'd been working for the producer Lo Wei, and really been in a whole series of movies that hadn't worked. And then he was loaned out to MC and at Seasonal Films to make Snake in the Shadow and Drunken Master. And those films were huge, and they established kung fu comedy as a viable genre. So he returned to Taiwan, and Lo Wei was like trying to make him do the same kind of movies he'd been doing before. And Jackie says, no, I want to do what I did that worked with Snake Eagle Shadow. I want to do a kung fu comedy, and I want to direct. So that was Fearless Hyena. And this is reflecting the fact that the style of kung fu that he uses is based on emotion feelings. So it's like you represent different emotions to convey different forms of fighting. So this is reflected with all the happy, sad expressions. If you see the movie, you get it. He also disguises himself as a woman, as a cross-eyed hobo, and it's basically Jackie Chan as you've never seen him before. This is what this poster is selling. Very much in the style of Tony Wong. Tony Wong was the guy that created Jade Man, which was like, he's the Stan Lee of Hong Kong, and he had like a great empire of comic books, and he always used to do very stylized caricature artwork of the heroes of the day, and he's a great friend and fan of Jackie's. So this is kind of how he depicted Jackie in his comic books. So this is very Jade Man style. And then next up we have a very real contrast between the wild and wacky comedy of Fearless Hyena, Last Hurrah for Chivalry, which is probably the best of John Woo's swordplay movies, before he took all of the elements of swordplay and applied them to gangster movies, For a Better Tomorrow, The Killer, Hardball, those movies. And it's amazing, look at this kind of like captured moment. It looks so ridiculous, but it's actually a scene in the film when one character kicks another one out of the way in order to sacrifice himself as a guy with a sword plunges from the heavens. That really happens in the movie. You see what you guys have been missing? You see, you're watching all this Hollywood crap, you could see a guy hurtling down from the heavens, and that scene is in the movie. And I think probably if you're not a crazy kung fu fan, but you want a piece of art on your wall that really works in and of itself, that's probably close to it. I think that's a really cool looking piece. This is from The Magnificent Butcher, which is very close to the heart of some of us in the room, because we study the style of Hong Kun, Hong Ga. It's my teacher, Max Zifu. Give it up for Max Zifu. And the main character, played by Sammo Hung, is Lam Sai Wing, Butcher Wing, who's like our great-great-great-great-great-grandmaster. And it's just such a fantastic movie. It's probably, pound for pound, the most fun. This and Drunken Master are the most fun. This is like Sammo Hung's Drunken Master, I think. There's a great Quan Tak Hing reprising his role as Wong Fei Hung, this great calligraphy duel. Sammo playing the butcher. This artwork here was used on the Laserdisc, the video covers, it was taken out. Some of the territories in Asia where these films play are predominantly Muslim, so the pigs had to be taken out. So you see a version of this artwork without the two pigs. Again, this idea of the cartoon characters. You've got the fight here between Sammo's fighting the cat creature, you've got Yuen Biu striking a pose. The idea that you're seeing live-action people who can move like cartoons, so they're not trying to sell you that this is the new Bruce Lee or anything close to that. Here's another masterful piece of art from Spooky Encounters, Guai Da Guai, which is like Sammo Hung saying, you know what, I can actually take magic and make magic as much fun as the martial. So you're combining black magic from the Chinese ancient black magic with Kung Fu in one amazing comedic package. And this very much, again, in line with the Chinese comic book style of doing caricatures. So you've got Sambo with all the tattooing. Again, you look at this and you go, this is ridiculous, but all the things you see depicted here actually take place in the movie. And this is another one where I think if you're only going to take home one poster to put on the wall that you wouldn't get bored with looking at, this is probably one. This is a fun poster. Here's one of my favorites. I was actually on the set of this movie as a 10 to 20-year-old back at Golden Harvest. And I didn't know it was going to be a classic. I was just staggering around wondering where they buried Bruce Lee. And who can say the title of this movie in Chinese? There you go. Also known as Bai Ga Zhai. So, as you see, he's chopping the gold in half. So his character is this kid who's going to lose the family fortune. This is another movie about the tradition of Wing Chun, the style Li Yin Man did. And this is actually much more of a dramedy. It's comic, but there's a lot more darker elements to it. A great poster for a great movie. By the way, Bai Ga Zhai, basically, the Chinese title, it's a youngster of a rich family who's such a loser that he loses all the family's fortune. So this shot here of Yin Bu chopping through the gold, that represents that he's, you know, Bai Ga Zhai. He's like the kid who will do no good. Of course, he redeems himself by the final reel. And finally, back to Dai Guo, Dragon Lord. This is the kind of artwork that was being produced when Jackie had really become an international star. And you didn't need anything to sell the movie apart from the fact that Jackie Chan was in it. So even at this stage, they're looking beyond a theatrical release in Hong Kong towards what's going to go on the video sleeve when the film's released for home video internationally. So this was the home video art all the way around the world. So you've got this great, bright image, central image of Jackie, and it works. You don't need to be able to speak English. It didn't matter whether you were in France, Spain, Germany, you didn't need to be able to read Chinese. You'd see Jackie Chan, you knew this was the movie for you. So they've gone away from the extreme cartooniness. You want to see it's Jackie, and this is artwork that's going to sell Hong Kong cinema to the world. So you start with a very localized view of one dragon, which is Lei Xiu Long, and then you have the international version of another dragon, Sing Long. So this is like our rich tradition. What we're doing with Real East is spreading the good word about this wonderful background of Hong Kong filmmaking, and also selling original artwork, these original posters on our Real East site. So thank you for coming. Enjoy, ask any questions that you may have. Drink and eat. The only thing we paid for is the food and drink, so please, clean it out, you know? Thank you. So we're here at the A Gallery, which is normally given over to fine art. So we have to be really careful because normally, you know,